you may have the question, what is IFS, internal family systems, or how is it different from other parts work or self-inquiry or anything, and why should I learn this as a self-applicable way? So I'm here to talk to you about this very quickly. So in very short, from the concept of the internal family systems model, it is believed that we are all made up from a core self or higher self or heart center, whatever you want to call it. And then we're also made up of individual parts. So that would be our individuality that we're born with, right? We all have different personality traits, and then we're bringing stuff from our DNA, from our past lives, etc. So that would make up our individuality and different parts. And generally, when we're born, most of these parts function harmoniously as our authentic true self. And then as we grow up, conditioning comes in, and some of these parts basically morph into conditioned patterns. So these parts become extreme and they start to develop strategies to protect us, to fit into life. And now we're here with masks, conditioned patterns, shadows, etc. So when we do shadow work, our goal is to get these fragmented parts. They're now parts that are fragmented in our psyche, stuck in old stories at a different age, etc. The goal is to get them to a harmonized place again and integrate them. Now, I'm not going to talk more about IFS, etc., and what it is from a concept basis. You can find more information in regards to that on my website, but I want to tell you more about what actually happens in IFS. What does it look like? So IFS is a form of parts work, if that is a term that you're familiar with, but contrary to a lot of parts work that can feel very intellectualized. Think of when you're asking yourself, maybe you've had some journal prompts of like, oh, what part of myself is still carrying this belief, or what part of myself is still doing XYZ. That is a more intellectualized process. You're trying to figure it out from your mind, right? Through the structured, specific approach of IFS, we are actually diving into the subconscious and connecting with those parts directly and let them speak. And we do that in different ways through very structured inquiry. So there's different question prompts, but more so the inquiry also is in a structured way. We'll be accessing our body, somatic responses and experiences. It will connect with our parts energetically and make it a complete, full mind, body, soul approach. And one of the emphasis is on connecting with the parts from our heart center and creating this space and then letting the parts basically speak. It is a form of journeying into your subconscious, journeying into your internal world. And through this process of directly connecting with our parts, not only do we gain understanding of why certain things are there, where they're coming from, which parts are still doing XYZ, etc. It allows us to actually connect in a way where we can create more self-compassion. It allows us to actually start seeing the world for what it really is, but through the whole process, more important, it creates this deeply healing process because we're actually starting to discharge and process some of that old stuck energy that these parts are carrying. And that is what makes it stand out so much, because it's when we discharge that energy that our system naturally becomes calmer, our nervous system calms down, we have more access to our self, our authentic truth, our higher self, etc. And we create the energetic capacity to actually make changes in daily life, instead of always being on autopilot from conditioned responses. So instead of reacting, you can actually learn to respond. I've seen people do parts work that is more intellectualized, but they still are not able to actually make the changes that are needed. So they understand all their patterns, understand all where it comes from, why it's happening, etc. But the energy hasn't really been discharged of the parts, or it hasn't been processed. So that what makes IFS really, really stand out. Now, you can go to an IFS practitioner like me or an IFS therapist and have them guide you through sessions and help you explore the parts, which is very beneficial. It's extremely helpful, but you can also learn how to apply this concept to yourself. There is a very specific structure to this form of inquiry, and it follows some steps to make sure that it is deeply healing. And when you learn how to apply this to yourself, you can start becoming in charge of your own emotional landscape. You can start processing your old stories, and you can also start processing the things that are coming up in daily life. It will allow you to interact differently with yourself. It will allow you to interact differently with the world around you. And it will really also change your relationships, because now you're self-empowered. Now you can, in real time, start to interact with your whole system, with your parts, and really become self-led. You're starting to create this harmonized space within you where you are starting to become in control. It allows you to start feeling safe in your body and becoming attuned to your body and regulate it in the moment as you're understanding what's moving through and are able to actually work with what's happening. And with the structured approach, you also learn, again, rather than just an intellectual form of inquiry, you're learning to actually how to make sure it is healing. It connects you back to your core self, to your intuition. So from there, you can interact, and that's the place you can start moving through life from and make decisions from, which really quiets the noise inside. You're not constantly going to question yourself, and it creates also much more self-acceptance and self-compassion. And with that, it will also change how you experience the world around you. And once you know how to do this approach in a structured way, you can take this anywhere in life.